And he's all, well, how would you treat them if you hated them? You pulled them in and out of this lifestyle. They're coming to visit you in a cell. You show up long enough for them to fall back in love with you, and then you're ripped out of their lives. When you are around them, you're intoxicated. It's like the best thing you could do for those kids is leave them the hell alone until you get your stuff together. And nobody had ever spoken to me like that, and it cut deep, but it was the truth. He didn't mean it from a hurtful place, you know? He would just give me facts. And he's like, we'll be in touch. We'll talk about it. You'll get an acceptance letter if we think you're a good fit.
Welcome to Motivational Monday, Conversations with David Ibarra. And our guest today is Nicholas Smith. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, I want to get started, and we're going to break this into three segments of conversation. First, I want you to tell me about the Other Side Donut Shop that's just been opened 3 months ago.
So the Other Side Donuts is one of the social enterprises that helps fund and provide housing as well as employment opportunities for the chronic homeless. Mm-hmm. We believe in whole person change over there. The idea is you learn through social enterprises how to live a values-centered life of integrity. And so we build that culture into the business, and we make some amazing donuts at the same time.
Great. So now tell us what that enterprise means. Does it support an effort on behalf of the...
So, yeah, all of it goes back, because it is a nonprofit, into providing funding for the Other Side Village, which is one of the sister organizations to the Other Side Academy, and we're literally building a village. We'll have a supermarket. My bakery will be in there in phase one towards the end, as well as houses, communal houses, with a amphitheater. There's going to be a Airbnb, a grocery store. I mean, it's a village by all accounts, even a lighthouse. So, wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
So the Other Side Village is intended to teach people what it means to be a member of a community, to be a neighbor. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me, these tiny homes, on the first phase, there's going to be how many?
I believe it's 60 in the first phase.
It's 60 in the first phase, and it'll grow up to a maximum of
the numbers.
400, I believe.
420,
yeah,
I believe.
420. And the aim of the Other Side Village is to have it the safest, cleanest, nicest community in its area. Is that right?
Not just in its area. I think the biggest picture that we're going for is we want to show the nation, the world, that there's a way to address this crisis and do it in a way that's uplifting and supportive, and to not write people off anymore. They can put in the work. They have the value. It's intrinsic in each one of us. And I get to be a part of that.
That is incredible. There's nothing better than to see somebody start on the journey of living ready.
Yes.
Now, the Other Side Donut, all of the income, all of the profit goes into sustaining the Other Side Village operations, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a really large operation, as you can tell. The Other Side Donuts won't be the only enterprise that goes to support that. But the big pitfall that a lot of nonprofits run into is a heavy reliance on donors or taxpayer funding.
Right.
And so we want to mitigate that cost as much as we can through successful social enterprises. And we've seen that it's possible with our other businesses at the Other Side, our moving company, our thrift boutique. And we think that the donuts is going to be just as successful. We have several other businesses in the incubation period right now. So
great. So I want to go full circle and move to the Other Side Academy. Now, the Other Side Academy, I want you to tell me about it. Tell me the students and some stories of how they get there. But also, I want you to share with me how it's funded, because the Other Side Academy is almost self-funded.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about that. The Other Side Academy.
So the Other Side Academy has a pretty simple philosophy, right? A simple idea that if you practice being a good person long enough, that becomes who you are. Now, there's a very specific way they go about producing that type of person, and that's through 200% accountability. I'm accountable for your actions, you're accountable for mine. And through that, you build up community and you support change. Mistakes will happen, but if you're not living to this high standard that we set, I mean, not doing drugs is pretty much the lowest standard you can create. We're talking about honesty, integrity, treating others with kindness. Those beliefs, if you're not living to that standard, it's my responsibility to say, hey, do better. And through that, through large groups of people all living and producing and creating that environment, you can move mountains, let alone start amazing businesses that tie back into supporting that cause.
I want you to tell me who is at the Other Side Academy. How do they get there? What kind of help do they receive? And why is it you call them students?
So we lean on the academic vernacular of students because it's a school by every right. You're the school of life. We're teaching people how to live valued-centered lives of integrity. A leadership academy, so to speak, right?
And where do the students come from? Get right into the nitty gritty. How does this start?
So there's two ways to become a student at the Other Side Academy. One is to write a letter. Most of our people that come to the Other Side Academy where they're incarcerated, there's some homelessness involved, but there's also a strong addiction. You don't have to have been in jail to come. All you have to have really is a strong desire to change. And this isn't a small, short program. This isn't your 90, 60-day program. This is a 2.5-year minimum commitment. That's a serious commitment that you're ready to change your life.
And most of the students are suffering from
Addiction.
Yeah. And one of the things that the Other Side Academy has recognized, that our subconscious is seeded with certain ideas that create our beliefs. Yeah. And you can't unseed and reseed your subconscious in a 12-week program. It takes minimum of 2.5 years and up to 4 years. Isn't that right?
So the beauty of it is you can stay as long as it takes. There's no time limit set. You get to decide when you're ready. 2.5 years is the minimum, but more than likely it's going to take you longer than that.
And the Other Side Academy is located in Salt Lake City, down in the Midtown area on 7th South and
6th East.
6th East. How many students are receiving this leadership training, reseeding their subconscious to live a different life?
So currently there is 130, I believe.
Wow.
We're at the highest population we've ever had. And that's just in Salt Lake. You got to remember we have a campus in Denver as well that's doing just as well.
Right.
So we have replicated, and we know that it's a model that boasts 70 to 80% success as far as whole person change.
So the students come to the Other Side Academy. They're learning the techniques of what it is to be a honest individual, what it is to be accountable, what it is to reseed belief systems that cause you to receive a better life. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got there?
I was one of the ones sitting in a jail cell. I'm 28 years old. I have 4 kids at the time. Looking at another prison sentence. I'd already gotten out of prison once and thought I had it figured out and failed. Same charges my mother went on, drug use, possession, distribution, that stuff. And my kids are coming to visit me in jail. I have a 2-year-old at the time, and my oldest was 11. And there was one son I didn't even have a relationship with. And so I had some hard truths. I was either going to go back to prison for at least 2 years, minimum, probably more like 5, or I could go to Salvation Army. I had no money. I hadn't had a job for more than 2 years up until this point because I'd used drugs and been a felon since 13 years old. And And I'm sitting in my cell, and this guy comes in, and he's complaining about this place he just ran from in Salt Lake. I'm from Vernal, by the way, small town east of here. And he's telling me how miserable this place is. He's telling me they barbecue every weekend, they put you to work, they yell at your face, and they call you names, and they tell you all these things. And I'm listening to the way he's describing this place, and it sounds like nothing I've ever heard. They're honest. They address you almost military style. They give you a place to stay. It's free. That alone kind of got me locked in. But it was between that place or the other side, the Salvation Army. And I don't hear anything good about the Salvation Army and their ability to rehabilitate people. Or prison. I could just go back to prison. That didn't help the first time. I doubt it was going to help again. And so I asked him, I said, first thing I said is, you're an idiot for leaving that place. You'd rather go to prison. This guy had never been to prison before. There's no better out there. And he gave me Dave DeRocher's number. And you got to realize, if you've met Dave, I pictured this big, fat therapy guy that was real Zen and Buddha. But the reality was that wasn't him at all. Set me up an interview. And the academy is very particular about who they accept for good reason. Not everybody's ready to change. And if you don't have that ability and that readiness, you're not going to make it. Not through this process. And set up my interview. I called him. And to give you the nuts and bolts, it still gets me. The conversation with him, everything was good. I was telling him how much I wanted to change, and he brought up my kids. And he asked you that question. I see the love you have for your son here. My son's name's Nicholas. And he looks at me and he says, "You love your kids?" And I said, "Yeah, Dave, I do." And I'm probably crying like this too on the phone in a jail, And he's all, "Well, how would you treat them if you hated them? You pulled them in and out of this lifestyle. They're coming to visit you in a cell. You show up long enough for them to fall back in love with you, and then you're ripped out of their lives. When you are around them, you're intoxicated." It's like the best thing you could do for those kids is leave them the hell alone until you get your stuff together. And nobody had ever spoken to me like that. And it cut deep, but it was the truth. He didn't mean it from a hurtful place, He would just give me facts. And he's like, we'll be in touch. We'll talk about it. You'll get an acceptance letter if we think you're a good fit. And man, when I got that letter, that acceptance, it was like I got accepted into college. I'd never been accepted into anything like that before. And I just wanted a shot. And I did. I came.
Perfect.
And I never looked back. I've been through some tough things. Proud to say that I am an active participant in the raising and lives of all of my children.
Wonderful. Yeah. You were a student at the Other Side Academy for how many years?
3.
3.
3 years.
After 3 years, you were reseated to be accountable, to be honest, and to be a good father. Yeah. So then you went into some more years at the Other Side Academy. What was that?
So you're surrounded by change and these amazing leaders, and as you're going through that process, they hand off responsibilities and teach your leadership. And so even though I was a student there, I was given people to teach the process through leadership options. You start as a tribe aide, and then a tribe leader, and then there's barber, and then work your way into a staff position. Essentially, they taught me how to be a father and how to be a leader and how to communicate and how to show up for people, how to put other people first. And then you step away from that into the real world. The world doesn't operate like that, You're not surrounded by people that are focused on purpose and driven and so when they offered me a position back there to work in their IT department, I took it.
Wonderful.
I couldn't give the full devotion that a staff member requires, right? Most of those guys, they live on site. They're working 6-7 days a week. They've dedicated their lives to this, and they're there with the students 24/7. That's a commitment. I have 4 kids that I'm trying to be a part of their lives, It didn't match up.
So you went on to be a leader at the Other Side Academy, and then the opportunity came to run a business. Tell us about that.
So I'd been doing a lot of the back end. I've set up a lot of any software that came up, from the moving company to any of the businesses. I was a part of that process of finding the software, setting it up. So I had a lot of pieces to all the businesses that we run. So I had some experience. But we started this new venture, the Other Side Village, and we wanted to help more people. The academy is more able-bodied individuals. We seen a need, and so we started helping more people. And I just wanted that people side again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm staring in front of a monitor most days, and you know that you're working for a good cause, but you're missing that piece. You're not looking people in the eye as that light comes on, and I wanted that again. And my intentions were known. They knew that I wanted, so I was spending my free time over there helping out. And when this position opened up for the general manager, they're like, would you be interested in this spot? And I'm like, IT, donuts. I don't want to make donuts for the rest of my life. And then I went to a quiet place. Is how I made most of my decisions, thanks to the Other Side Academy. And I thought about it. It was an opportunity to learn management skills, learn business, which is always something I dreamed of learning about, and to work with some of the most inspiring leaders that I've come to know in my life. I still look up to these men: Dave DeRocher, Joseph Granny, Tim Stay. I'm sitting here in front of you. You know, I mean, I think that speaks wonders to the decision I made. And I get to help people. That crew back there at the donut shop, I know they're going to do well. You want to know why? Because I'm going to make sure they do well, and I have fun. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's been open how long?
So the shop itself, we're going on our third month right now.
Very good. Tell me, how many enterprises are connected to the Other Side Academy that supports the ability for a student to come and stay as long as they want and not have to pay?
So it's a little tricky, right? The thrift store, the moving company, and these are just Salt Lake's businesses. And then they have a storage facility as well. They have a construction company.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the four that have made it. We've started a few that we decided wasn't the best fit for students. But those four businesses here in Salt Lake, all that funding goes back into the academy. They are self-sufficient. They do some donation drives and things like that, and connect with people, but they don't need that to sustain themselves, right? And that opens them up
and that is where the students learn what it is to be a team member on a purpose-driven company.
Myself personally, I helped bring the moving company from, we started at about $1 million when I came on, and by the time I left, it was somewhere around the $2 to $3 million business. I was a part of that, and they encouraged me every step of the way.
Cool.
Yeah, and so that their funding goes there, and then the donut shop, we just started freeze-dried business. All that funding will go back into the village and provide jobs and training
and
for
so
that
the
population.
idea is for a different kind of concept for those experiencing the homelessness experience as a crisis in this country.
Yeah.
But instead of buying them a house and four walls to live in and suffer, this is about much more. This is about creating a home instead of a house, and a community and interaction. You know, I was just reading a report that one of the upcoming biggest diseases in the United States of America is loneliness, which causes anxiety, which causes our negative state of mind thinking, which causes I need to be happy, which is an introduction into a lot of things that just simply aren't good for us. We need to find our happiness consciousness. And at the Other Side Village, you're doing just that.
We are.
I am really excited to see the grand opening of when an actual home goes on it, a house goes on it, and then it becomes a home. Perfect. Well, I've got a little present here for you. This is my new book, Live Ready. And you'll, in chapter 1, it talks about the principles of how we as human beings need to live our life. First is managing our thoughts. You said something interesting, and David DeRocher, Joseph Grenny, and I all believe the same thing. You can't help someone until they have a desire to want something different than what they have.
Period.
So chapter 1 is talking about a person, one individual, same brain, same body, same spirit, that spent the first half of his life hurting people, selling drugs, in and out of prison. Got a chance to go to Delancey Street and change his life. Today, he is the leader of the Other Side Academy, yes. Dave DeRocher. He's featured in this book. Same person, same mind, seeded different thoughts. In the first half, bad thoughts. In the second half, good thoughts. And I don't know anybody that has had a bigger impact on people than Dave DeRocher, Joseph Grenny, and I'm sure you're following right in their footsteps. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, David. Turns out I got a present for you, too.
Ooh, I love presents.
So, for me and all my friends down there at the Other Side Donuts, enjoy.
Wow.
Hopefully you don't have too many weight loss goals right now.
Look at that. Oh, no. Look at that. Wow. It doesn't get better. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to break the rules and have one of them babies.
There you go. I like that.
Thank you very much for being in our program. And I look forward to see the growth of the Other Side Donuts, the Village, and the Academy, and your personal growth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.